This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's the Russell Reed Show.
Welcome to the Russell Reed Show, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me tonight, we're going to do a little Bigfoot investigation. Bigfoot enthusiast, Jim Wolf. Thank you for coming, Jim.
You're very welcome. Excited to be here.
And the Queen Tracker. Shannon Lee, thank you for coming.
Sharon Lee.
Sharon, I'm sorry. 3 a.m.
Sharon Lee.
It's going to be one of those days. I've just been so excited to get going with this. How did you get started?
Well,
Looking for Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Yeti, Grassman, and he and she goes by many names.
right. They go by very many names. But like Jim here, we had the opportunity to see the Legend of Boggy Creek at the theater.
Okay.
And this was a story about this family in Fouke, Arkansas that was being harassed by an aggressive Bigfoot. And I was 10 years old at the time. And I would go home and have these nightmares for years. And it's always the same dream where Bigfoot's running around my house, and we had a big boulder in our backyard, and he would be picking it up and trying to throw it through the picture window. And back then we had the rotary phone, and we didn't have 911, so I'm trying to dial the police department. It just keeps spinning and spinning, and he's running around through every window, and that nightmare always haunted me. So I didn't think about it. Got married a couple times, had a couple kids. Life just took its course, and then one day at work I saw something on the internet about Bigfoot, and I said, oh, that's cool. I haven't thought about him for a while. So I did a search, and I got a hold of the BFRO website, and I started reading all the reports, and I was like, wow, I thought they were only up in the Pacific Northwest or in Arkansas. And I said, there's a sighting from my county. It's like 15 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
So I bought myself a fancy little camera, and I started going out into the woods, and sure enough, probably a couple months into it, I went to the Hogback Ridge and found prints, and I was bending down to take pictures of the prints. I said, wait a minute, there's always one print. I said, where's the second print? We saw the left footprint, and my husband had said, well, where would another footprint be? And I said, well, probably 4.5 to 5 feet up. And sure enough, there was a fresh right footprint, and it was in pea gravel. It was like really pressed down, and there was a tiny little green maple leaf with gravel pressed into it, and it was still curling up. So I was just like, wow, this is freaky. So I went back to take a picture. I bent down, I'm taking a picture, and all of a sudden, wham! Something hit the ground and shook the whole ground. It sounded like a car got dropped on the ground. And all the birds and all the frogs and toads, everything was just deathly quiet. And I was holding my breath. So I said, all right, I'm just going to take these pictures, and we're going to walk out of here slowly. And then, all of a sudden, this 100-foot tall tree just starts shaking violently. And my husband said, well, do you think that's just the wind?
The one tree.
I said,
in a
well, I
forest
think it would
shakes.
be more than one tree, would be shaking. And so then we just walked out. And that was a really cool experience. I wrote it up on my website. I wrote up the story. Well, actually, I presented it to the Mid-America Bigfoot Research Organization. I was involved with them for a while. And I went to Oklahoma on their expeditions and stuff. So, yeah, I got really into it. I started traveling all across the United States, visiting other people, other researchers, and hanging out with them and writing stories about it.
And Jim, we go back a long time. High school.
A few years, yes.
How did you become an enthusiast?
Like Sharon said, the Legend of Boggy Creek, I remember that movie vividly. As a little kid, just scared the daylights out of me. And I've just been an enthusiast of the paranormal activity and Bigfoot and UFOs and that type of thing. There's got to be some kind of scientific basis out there for these things to be happening, and I want to find it.
Now, God, I don't even know where to begin. roughly they're a mature Bigfoot, Sasquatch, goes by many names, is about 8 feet tall.
Well, depending if it's male or female, there would be a difference. And there's been, sightings from, say, 7 foot tall to 11 feet tall. They've had some crazy, variations in height and weight and, hair color. They vary quite a bit, just like humans do. Short people, tall people, hairy people, bald people.
And the BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization.
Yes.
Here's the scary part. I've already talked to you guys about this. Florida has had 260 sightings. Okay, that's, California, 428. Number one. Now, that's the land of fruits and nuts. Go figure. And I did some looking, going down. Ohio, 242. Number 4 in the nation with Bigfoot sightings.
Yep.
Then, I told you to press on the state for the counties. Everywhere we are located in Cuyahoga County, there's really no forests around here, but everywhere else, there's been at least 2-3 sightings. And the interesting part is these are people that, how they phrase it, had the courage to come out and say, I saw something. Here in Ashtabula County, in March of this year, a Class B sighting, possible daylight sighting along I-90 near Geneva. I guess there were 6 people that were driving and just kind of glanced over the tree lawn and saw something.
Yep.
In 2012 in Holmes County, a Class A sighting, multiple witnesses watched a figure cross the road near Nashville, Ohio. Then in Hawking in 2011, a Bigfoot caught staring at a lady with her puppies. And I'm just like, there was one out where we grew up in Auburn Township. Mm-hmm. A kid just kind of came in from playing on the swing, and the mother just asked a question. She goes, there's a big hairy ape man, looking at me in the tree. And, I saw this on the sign. The kid was okay with it. And the mother went out there, and there was something that wasn't right, and called the authorities. And and we were discussing a Class A sighting would be an actual visualization, yeah. Something large walking. Class B would be footprints, we're going to get into twisted trees or limbs and.
Now the twisted tree thing would be more like a C. Really, they've never seen a Bigfoot twisting the tree, so they really don't. A lot of real researchers don't accept that as good evidence.
Okay, it's just
they
what
just
we were
say,
saying
that's
earlier.
Interesting.
It's thick enough that a human being could not do
right.
it, and if you don't have thumbs, you can't exactly grip it, and bears don't have thumbs.
Right.
So it's, and there's so many questions like hunting season.
Right.
You're up in a tree stand, you're quiet because you don't want to scare away Bambi. You see something that doesn't look right. Why hasn't there been a shooting with a deceased Bigfoot being dragged back?
Well, the problem is that if you're out turkey hunting or squirrel hunting and you see this creature that's 900 pounds and you know that you shoot it, you're just going to piss it off. They probably don't want to take that chance.
Okay. Now,
deer hunters, if they have a more powerful rifle or something, they might want to do it. But then, as a hunter, and especially if they are responsible and professional about it, they're not going to shoot at something they can't identify. So if they look at this thing and they say, "What the hell is that? Are you going to shoot it?" But if he says, "Oh," I've had stories from hunters who were in their tree stands and the creature just walked right past them, and they were so petrified because of the size of the creature that they just didn't want to make a move. They think, oh gosh, just let this thing pass me by. Don't let it know I'm here. But they've had eye contact with them, and they claim, people who have seen it claim that there's just a feeling of peace that comes over with them. They're like, the creature is not aggressive, and they just probably pee in their pants thinking, please just keep walking. Don't.
First you say it. Well, no, first you do it, then you say it.
Right.
It's just fascinating.
So basically, that jerky commercial that you see on TV is false.
I love those commercials.
Those are the best. Now, you've heard sounds.
Yes.
Unidentified sounds. Sounds that just cannot be replicated by two bears mating or some. And you sent me an audio, and I tried for everybody out there to do my best to. I heard something, and it was not normal.
Right.
But it was so faint, and somebody dropped the F-bomb.
Well, you have to know the whole story that led up to that. It was July 18th, 2008. We were at Salt Fork State Park, and we were off on a remote area off of 52, their state roads there. And we had been sitting there since 8:30 in the evening, and not a car had gone by or anything. And this happened at about after midnight. It was about 11:45, and a barred owl started talking from the woods. And I replied back, and we were having this conversation. You know, it was like, woo, 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 woo. You know?
Yeah.
And they reply.
I don't know barn owl, so
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, okay. You're having a conversation with an owl.
And it stopped.
And honey, it's puff, puff, pass. And then you heard something.
And then we heard this thing. It sounded like it said, "Get the fuck out of here." But your mind wants to put English words on something that sounds like language, you know? So to me, that's what it sounded like it was saying. And then you heard me say, "What the was that?"
Yeah.
And then you hear it go like,
Yeah.
And my friend said, it sounded like a scream. He whispered it. You
Yeah.
could hear us on the recorder. And then you just hear this thing grumbling and moaning and groaning. And then you hear, like, at the very end, a shrill scream, like a little rabbit being killed. Like, just this high-pitched scream. It was, like, real faint and high-pitched, though.
Now, when you... let's see if I can't do this. Squatching.
He's got it.
I got it. Is it like hunting, you stay in one place, or do you wander through the woods?
Usually, you know, it's a production. I have my own system. I don't know how other people do it, but usually when I get to an area, I go out during the day and I hike the whole area looking for signs, you know, looking for anything that looks squatchy to me, you know, and then you know, go back to camp, get all your gear. We'll set up trail cameras during the day, you know, in places. We'll scout it out and see what looks good, where we want to place a trail camera, and then we go out at night. And we've done both. We love going on the long night hikes, you know, down these paths that we know very well, and night hikes are the best. So much fun. And you know, if
Jim's just. That's coming from someone who's in the military too on night hikes.
yeah. I don't like, well, I like to go without a headlamp, too. I just like to go by the moonlight.
Absolutely. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah. It's because I think it distorts everything when you have the light, and you get your night vision adjusted. And
Well, that and with bright lights.
right, we don't want to attract that. But if you're going with more than two people, you're making so much noise, clomping, you know, they could hear you. And sometimes when I take people out, they're scared or nervous, and all they do is talk, 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 talk. And it's just like, oh, my God, shut up. You know, I got to hear something here.
And, I mean, how never been on one of these, apparently it's now the thing.
Right, because of Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah. And was that the start of everything?
It wasn't, well, you know, what was the show Doug Hychek had? Monster Quest. Probably, like, sparked everything. Doug Hychek did Monster Quest, several episodes of it, and were on Bigfoot. And then Finding Bigfoot came along. I think they're filming their 4th season right now. They just came back from Nepal and Kathmandu. They've been going all over. But the guys have become such celebrities, and Renee, have become such celebrities that all the kids love them. And now all these kids, like 10 years old, they're all going in the woods and making YouTube videos and calling themselves researchers. And you've got thousands of people in the woods who are really just like annoying.
Everybody wants to be Bobo now.
Right?
Yeah. Now,
right.
Jim, which really blew my mind, how I got onto the subject is I'm doing a calendar for charity, and one of my models said, yeah, I could shoot on this day, but I have to be home by 5 o'clock. And this is a conversation through text messaging and through Facebook. And I asked Ashley why. She goes, because I'm going squashing.
Squatching.
No, squashing.
Oh, she said squashing? Okay.
That's how she spelled it. And not really understanding it. And I'm asking, well, are you? And I said, so? She goes, well, we want to do it with the full moon or something weird to that extent. I'm like, what are you going to do? Steal someone's squashes next door? And she's like,
raiding the gardens?
yeah. She goes, no, I thought we had a conversation on this. I'm like, apparently not. Then I called her and she said, squatching. I'm like, okay. And then she was telling me about the Salt Fork yearly meeting convention where 800 to 1,000 people show up for it.
That's the Ohio Bigfoot Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim, you've been there several times.
Yes.
You're a card-carrying member.
you never met
VIP
me?
seating.
You never met me there?
I never met you.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's 800
I'll
to
look for you
1,000
next time.
people.
Yeah.
Now, what is discussed there?
Well, they talk about the new trends that are going on in evidence collection, and they have just talk about what's going on in Ohio and where we've seen where we've had recent sightings, and they bring in some of the big names in Bigfoot research.
We Bob Gimlin was here 2 years ago. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Esteban Sarmiento, and they give presentations and speeches. And Dr. Meldrum is an anthropologist, and he talks about he's the one who talks about the footprints. He's like the footprint expert. So everybody wants to talk to him and show him their footprints, and he puts on a great presentation.
Now, time to bash a little bit. Just you have to do the yin and yang. There's always seemed to be one or two footprints, then nothing more.
Right.
And because you would think you should, especially in the winter, Ohio, we get a little bit of snow, and you would think if you see one, there's going to be a path leading somewhere.
Right.
Yet no one's ever really been able to, or had the courage to follow it back to wherever home would be. How do you debunk something like that?
That's where the crazy part comes in. People start saying they're shapeshifters, or they go to another realm. They go through a wormhole somewhere or something, because there has been actual photographs of a track line that was being followed, and then in the snow, and it just disappeared. There were no more footprints, and there was not any trees nearby that it could jump into. So that was very bizarre, and I don't know. Even if it was a man with snowshoes on, where did he go from there? I don't know. That's where it gets to be unexplainable. And people do have their beliefs that they're forest people and they have cloaking powers and things like that.
And Jim and I were talking outside, and one of the questions I was going to say is we've all watched the shows with whether it's Animal Planet, Discovery, National Geographic. Kids will be kids. Mm-hmm. They're ornery, they're inquisitive, yet no one's really seen a little one kind of walk into someone's backyard and kind of look around. Jim said they're more human than simian, and they keep a close eye on them. I'm like, okay, that kind of cross that off. That makes a lot of sense. But has anyone ever seen a baby?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been reports of babies. And I actually, at Salt Fork, behind Hozak's Cave, across these baby footprint tracks, perfectly in the mud. And they were just like humans, but very fat. Very fat. It was probably about this wide, probably about this big, 5 perfect toes and everything. And there was also a mountain lion track and a bear track. And that's the thing. I did a show of my own about animal sounds, and you need to know what you're looking for when you go into the woods, because deer make sounds that would sound like a monster. Raccoons fighting over eggs makes a sound that sounded like, oh my God, I thought there was a Bigfoot outside my tent, and I freaked out. And here it was just these raccoons. It was going, I'm serious. And
that was verbatim too.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be, we've all seen Scooby-Doo at one point when you go through a wall with the shape. That would be me if I heard something I didn't know. I mean, I like to think growing up in Geauga County, I'm kind of an outdoorsy kind of person. I'm I like my running water. I like my cable. So if I hear something I don't know, I'm gonna make a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
The first time you heard something that was not an animal that you would know of, what?
Well, it was that story I told you about
Okay.
in July 2008. We were sitting there, and when it said that, my friend went running to the edge of the woods with the recorder, and he was like yelling back at it, "You want us to get out of here? You want us to?" In the meantime, I'm in the background throwing my camp chairs in the truck. I said, "If that thing wants us the fuck out of here, I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Now, Ranger?
Sheriff's deputy.
No. Army-wise.
Army, airborne.
Airborne?
Yeah.
So you've been in a few woods.
Yes.
Ever hear something you've never...
Down in Panama, down in the jungle, but it turned out to be the howler monkeys,
Oh.
which is what is very similar to what you would liken to be a Bigfoot's howl or screech.
That's how I do my call, is from the howler monkeys. I go, whoop, like that.
And when you're in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of the night by yourself, off to the side someplace, and you hear one of those about 20 feet away from you,
They do get some depth and some range.
Yeah. You wish you were elsewhere.
Now, you were telling me a story. You and a friend were in the woods, and apparently you pissed something off, and some rocks are being thrown at you on a horizontal plane.
Right.
Do Bigfoot, like Jim and I were saying, what's the plural for Bigfoot? Big feet, big foots, whatever. Are they territorial?
Well, yeah, I believe so. I believe that. And in this situation, it was almost as if they were trying to keep us in a certain area, because every time I would go to the left or move from where I was, the rocks would start being thrown again until I moved back to where they wanted me. Every time that we would variate from where we were at, the rocks would start coming.
So they are like the jerky commercial.
I mean, you have all these hoaxsters out there. I mean, we were talking about the dumbass that got a ghillie suit and said, "I'm going to walk like a Bigfoot," and walked across the road, and the driver saw him and goes, my 15 minutes, hit him thinking it was a Bigfoot. And because he was in a ghillie suit, it looked like a big pile of leaves. 2 cars behind him, or I should say a car behind him a little bit ways, ran over him again, so the hoaxer got it twice. How do you distinguish between a hoax and the actual thing?
Well, what's funny is, like, all these people who are putting these videos up on YouTube and everything, it's like the real researchers just tear it apart and say, that's a hoax. But it's kind of, maybe, I don't know if it's because they're jealous that they didn't get it, but then people do prove to be hoaxers. There's just certain things you could tell. And if you look good enough, you'll see a shoe where a foot pad would be, and, just the size isn't right, or the movement isn't right, or the arm length isn't right. There's like a lot of things to look at. And it just seems to me that the people who are making all these YouTube videos are just trying to get famous.
It's like that guy with that, he froze Bigfoot. And
yeah.
Then it thawed out, and all it was a rubber mask.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've done it, and I'm 45. I have to admit, I get childish every now and then in the snow. You try to make the perfect footprint. And you really have to concentrate hard to do it and lift and stretch. How is something that could be 400 at a minimum 400 pounds be able to make such a perfect print all the time?
Well, maybe that's why they only find one good print every now and then. Maybe the next print is like distorted, messed up.
They're not also concentrating on how to make their step and everything. That's natural for them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
They're just doing what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, and Jim, there's been some speculation that they bury their dead, because that's the other question. I mean, somewhere you got to run across, a carcass of something that's passed away.
Right.
I Ashley told me that she and her boyfriend were down at Salt Fork. They came across a dead deer, and they took a picture of it. I'm like, why? He said, because the jaw was completely ripped and open in a way that an animal couldn't do it. And the deer was too big for a human to do it, and why would a human do it? And Jim, you said there's deers that have been found that all the organs were there except for the liver. I mean, have you ever crossed something like that down in your travels?
No, I haven't. And that's another thing I was going to say. Like, even if you're as many woods as I've been in, I've never come across a dead bear or anything. So am I not to believe that bears exist?
Yeah.
You have to think of it that way. But also, nature, if you have a dead deer within 7 days, there's no trace of it left because nature takes care of itself.
Yeah.
The scavengers come, and then by the time the maggots and everything, and the coyotes will take the rib bones, take the leg bones, and it'd be 2 miles away from where it was originally, killed or died.
Okay. I mean, they're just getting, and a question my mother had, why aren't there more pictures? And I answered that when I called her an hour later and said, there's a Bigfoot on your porch, get your camera. She didn't know where the camera was. I said, where's your cell phone? Oh, it's in the other room. That kind of, and you said you're always carrying something with you, never are ready at the ready, and
right.
all of a sudden you see it, and time you go to reach for it, you turn around, it's gone.
I've tried to take pictures of the turkeys when I'm driving down in Salt Fork and I see a group of turkeys. By the time I reach over and grab my camera, they've already gone into the woods. Like they're crossing the road. I grab my camera, and all I get is this little blur of what could be a turkey's ass. I don't.
And how many at Salt Fork? Why is that just I don't want to say Mecca, but why does everything happen, conferences and all that, just because of it being such a large wooded area?
Salt Fork, they have 29,000 acres, and that's pretty well spread out. But now Salt Fork is overrun with people out in the woods looking for the creature. But it seems like they are still there. Like, it could be a nursery, like a breeding ground.
Okay.
And they stay there all year round.
And not knowing a lot about them, do they stay or do they migrate, or no one really knows?
No one really knows. Nobody has. Like I say to everybody, there is not one person in this world who is an expert on Bigfoot or who has any answers. Unless if you have a habituation situation and you could monitor these creatures for long term, and then you would know their habits or everything. But just a person who sees a Bigfoot running across the road is by no means an expert or can't answer any questions. He can't say, well, it must be looking for its mate. Oh, it must be migrating. You don't know that. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone goes, well, a friend of mine at work asked if they do that for the Loch Ness Monster. I said, I'm sure they do. It's just over in Scotland, and we wouldn't be privy to knowing what's going on because it's really not on the internet. But lately, I've been inundated with friend requests of people that have something to do with Yeti this, Bigfoot that, Sasquatch this. The Florida one is
Skunk ape.
Skunk ape. And how did the Sasquatch Bigfoot here in Ohio get Grassman? Because you Jim, you brought that up. I had no idea. I thought it was like Mothman or something. How did these names come up?
Well, down when these sightings were happening, they were finding these huge balls of grass. We're talking like 10 feet, 20 feet in diameter, and like they were just big balls of grass, and they were assuming that this wild man was doing this. It was actually hollowed out even, so like whatever made it could be inside of it. And like I was telling you before, 30 years ago, Don Keating started investigating that, and he's from the Guernsey County area, and he's the oldest Bigfooter in Ohio, and he's the one who started all the Ohio Bigfoot Conference and everything, and he's gotten national attention. He's been on the Today Show. He was on with Kathy Lee and Hoda last year, and now he's retiring now. He wants to do weather. He's a weatherman now. So anyway,
it'll be good weather to go hunting for Bigfoot.
No.
Yeah. We're gonna take our break, and we'll be back with much more in just a couple minutes. This is the Russell Reed Show. We'll be back talking more squatching and Bigfooting in just a couple minutes. Hang tight, ladies and gentlemen.
Feel this moment. I just wanna feel this moment.
right. Not another Farmville request. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Morning Show Central. Denying one Farmville request at a time.
I know. Oh my God, I know what we're gonna do. Oh, it's so delicious, I can almost taste it.
If you're looking for the best sub shop in town, look no further. Hanini Subs, located at 7310 Lorraine Avenue, is the place for you. Stop in for a cold cut sub, cheeseburger and fries, wingdings and fries, and so much more. I can almost taste it. Hanini Subs at 7310 Lorraine Avenue is open 24 hours a day. Check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Burrito Crazy. And if you mention Msc Radio Network, you'll get $1 off your meal. It's all good at Hanini Subs. So damn good. Looking for reliable and affordable Shoutcast audio or video hosting? JWN Media offers complete Shoutcast hosting solutions for business or personal use. All plans come with full listener stats, custom web scripts for implementing your service into your existing website, full server control, super fast network, and huge bandwidth limits, a 99.5% uptime guarantee, and friendly, knowledgeable support personnel dedicated to making your hosting experience fun and easy. With plans starting at only $3 a month, you have no excuse not to get a server of your own. Plus, with the option to add auto DJ and on-demand services, you can be confident your station will be all it can be. Custom plans are also available at their website. Simply visit jwnmedia.com and click the Shoutcast hosting link to get started right now. Lakewood Computer, located at 14035 Madison Avenue in Lakewood, has it all. If you're in need of computer repairs or want to cut the cost of ink cartridges and printing supplies, count on Lakewood Computer in Lakewood, Ohio to provide it all. For the past 5 years, Lakewood Computer has been providing you with a huge assortment of computer equipment and services at very competitive prices. Lakewood Computer purchases and sells pre-owned desktops, laptops, and related equipment. And they offer outstanding prices on aftermarket printing supplies, including toner cartridges and ink cartridges. With 29 years of professional experience, Lakewood Computer is highly confident in their ability to enhance your overall computing experience. Check them out online at joeslakewoodcomputer.com. That's joeslakewoodcomputer.com. Or give them a call toll-free, 855-580-0768. That's 855-580-0768. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network. If you have a product or service, let people know about it. Get your message out there and advertise on Msc Radio Network. It's easier than you think, and the whole planet is listening. Find out how you can advertise. Email Chris at morningshowcentral.com. Call the show toll-free. 1-888-668-0742. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network on morningshowcentral.com. Heat99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right. Jumping from one web host to another can be frustrating. Finding a good web host can be unnerving for even the most experienced of web designers. That's why Uncensored Net Noise has chosen P99 Technologies as its web hosting supplier. Established in 1999, P99 Technologies has evolved into a first-class web hosting provider. Its 99.9% uptime rivals many in the industry. That's why they offer their 30-day guarantee, no questions asked. For more information, go to P99.com. P99 Technologies will help you get started with your web presence with honest and expert customer service. P99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right. Hey, local bands and unsigned artists. What if I told you there was a place in Cleveland where you can get your merch made and have it sold in one location? What if I said you could bring your CDs and tickets to upcoming shows to this location? And what if I said you could do live acoustic sets at this location? I bet you're thinking there's no such place in Cleveland. Guess what? You'd be wrong. Contact Rick Navario at Rock City, Cleveland, and tell him you need merch made and you want to sell it in his store. Now, how cool is that? You can tell your fans to come down and get your stuff, and I think he'd ship your products to your fans. And he's local. Contact Rick Navario at Rock City, Cleveland today. 216-622-0377. That's 216-622-0377. With hundreds of live weather products and layers and thousands of combinations, Weather Studio provides a professional graphics and store monitoring solution without complex user knowledge and without the industry standard price tag of $1,000 plus broadcast systems. Weather Studio displays a plethora of critical atmospheric and geophysical data on an interactive GIS-enabled computer map. Get your trial of Weather Studio at their website, weatherstudio.paulmarv.com. That's weatherstudio.paulmarv.com. If you're looking for the best in musical equipment, recording gear, sound reinforcement, and more, Guitar Center has you covered. Guitar Center, located at 26635 Brook Park Road in North Olmsted, has the tools of your trade with the largest selection of music and sound gear in the area. They cater to your musical needs and have the knowledge to help you out. Guitar Center in North Olmsted. MorningShowCentral.com uses them. You should too. Need to know more? Go to GuitarCenter.com.
Oh, wow. Language.
Okay, he was PMSing.
You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network.
I can't think of a more appropriate song than Superstition. Welcome back to the Russell Reed Show. We're talking everything big, scary that goes bump in the night throughout the country. You take groups down to South Fork.
Yes.
And you teach them how to cast. Not fishing rod, but the footprints. Is every trip down there you always find a footprint or two, or is there a lot of hunting involved to find? I mean, have you ever struck out on a weekend?
Oh man, I would if any researcher tells you that they see one every weekend, they're lying. Everybody strikes out more than often, but we keep going back because it's so interesting. We do a thing called Bigfoot Adventure Weekends. Me and my partners, Alan and Jesse from Fathom Frontiers, which is I brought you guys some gifts here, some Grassman gear.
Oh, cool.
This is for you.
Thank you.
The Grassman
Nice.
gear T-shirt.
There you go.
There you go.
Very cool.
But we do this thing called Bigfoot Adventure Weekends,
Okay.
and it's usually for people who are inexperienced. And it's like a whole 4-day, all meals included, and we teach them how to cast, how to set up trail cameras. We take them on the day hikes, we take them on the night hikes, and teach them what to look for. And it's usually a lot of fun. Everybody wants to come back the next year. So when we do go out, we do not always find evidence, and we don't plant evidence just to have so the people would have a great time.
Okay.
No, that would be a big no-no. But and they've seen things. Alan and Jesse have like the thermal camera, the thermal imagers.
Okay, that was.
And Mark Mazel from the BFRO, he joins us as well, and Mark DeWorth. And we take the people out, and they just, get a thrill out of using the real equipment, because this is expensive equipment, that not everybody can afford or everybody has, in their
Now, a
pack.
field camera, as bluntly as I could put it, it's just a video camera you just put up on a trail and run it and...
Oh, you mean like a trail cam?
Yeah.
Yeah, the trail cams are your basic, usually we get like around $100 range for the Moultrie camera. And we find a place, while we do our day hike, this is a good area. There's a game trail here. There's a water source here. So we'll put this in this spot. And then it's really fun when you see everybody hiking through. They get to see themselves, and then we get the deer coming through. It's always good to see, that the equipment works, and then the people are seeing things that was out there in the woods with them that they didn't even see. So have we gotten a Bigfoot? No.
Okay, and when you cast, are all the outside of big, little, and all that, are all the footprints pretty much the same?
There's a lot of variation in footprints. There's like the cripple cast. There was this creature that had one right foot was crippled. Mostly though, they all are supposedly have the same features. The 5 toes, the mid-tarsal break, the heel, the width of the heel is basically as wide as the ball of the heel, whereas a human's heel is like a little narrower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they'll be kind of hard to replicate without actually having a cast. If someone wanted to make shoes that would have the feet on it to be a hoax.
Right.
And I mean, when you see, is there ever a perfect fake? I guess is what I'm trying to.
There's been many perfect fakes, but then again, they're too perfect, and you don't see sometimes when you step in mud, your toes splay out. If you're in a mud and you're getting the same footprint over and over and over, it's probably a fake.
Okay.
You know,
because it's slippery and, without
Right.
really consciously thinking about it, toe spread for more balance and
right.
okay.
You've also seen people that have made actual casts of a big footprint, and they've made shoes out of those casts.
Right.
So you're seeing you're seeing a footprint that might be a new print to somebody, but it's identical to a cast that was made years ago, halfway across the country.
Right.
So.
And is there an archive of footprints? Seeing you said they're throughout the country. I mean, someone takes the cast, turns it into something, and they could tell if it's okay. One's found in California, one's found in Maine, and they're identical in every part. So it should be a hoax, or is it? How do people throughout the country could tell?
Well, I'll tell you, like Dr. Jeff Meldrum right now probably has the clearinghouse for all the footprints in the United States, because anytime anybody gets a footprint that they think is legit, they send it off to him. They send him off a copy. He's got probably the most extensive collection of footprints, not just from one area.
Okay.
Because at the Willow Creek, the Bigfoot Museum there, they have a lot of footprints, but it's all around that area. And, Lauren Coleman, the International Cryptozoology Museum in Maine, he has a lot of things that were given to him, but not as extensive as Dr. Meldrum's here. And this is his definitive guide.
Definitive guide.
The Sasquatch Field Guide, identifying, tracking, and so he's got like images of all his footprint casts and everything, and they're from all over the United States. And this is a great field guide to take out into the woods. And since Jim is going to be doing a lot of squatching, I'm going to give that to you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now
I'll put it to use.
Yes, I know you will.
We talked during break about this new location where there's been a lot of activity. Not to give it out, but it's relatively close here because they're keeping it kind of hush-hush because they don't want to get inundated like Salt Fork with hundreds of people every weekend coming to look.
Right.
What does it take to be considered a hot spot?
Well, you would have to have some activity. A Class A sighting would be ideal, and it would have to be something that was reoccurring. It would have to happen more than once. Like I said, the guy who saw it crossing the freeway, it's like, we don't know where it was headed. It was a one-time shot. It could be in Pennsylvania right now for all we know.
Okay.
So why would we start, you could look around there, but I don't think it would be considered a hot spot.
When a spotting happens, do people look for footprints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the first thing you want to look for. And we look for hair. Sometimes hair strands will be caught in trees and bushes. And then again, you would look for other signs, like the tree markers or the tree bends and all that stuff.
We had Carl Johnson on last week, and he said, I asked if there's been fur or anything like that. He said there has been things found. They ran DNA testing on it and came back inconclusive.
Right.
And everything kept coming back inconclusive, which kind of means it's conclusive that it's inconclusive, meaning that if it's the same thing, different areas, and no one has an identification of it, it's something.
Yeah, it's not a bear, it's not a dog, it's not a deer, it's something.
And I read the Bigfoot Research Organization thing, and they said if someone sees a sighting, it's bfro.org. .net.
Mm-hmm.
If you see something and you think it could be Bigfoot, Sasquatch, you could contact them and you could, give your name or not give your name, and they'll send someone out there, because as we were saying, no one really wants to come out and say, I saw a Bigfoot, and everybody at work goes, you're nuts.
Right.
Is that a problem in the industry?
Well, like I was telling you before, I think before finding Bigfoot, people were having trouble coming out, or they knew they wouldn't be accepted. They would be called a kook or whatever. But now since finding Bigfoot has come out, it seems like everybody's having sightings. And so it's taken a lot of toll, actually, on real researchers like the BFRO and the Ohio Bigfoot Organization, because we have to follow up on all these leads. When you get a lead, And like I was telling Jim, more than not, I end up at a dead end talking to a crazy person, someone who just wanted attention, wanted their 15 minutes of fame, someone who called the local newspaper before they had a researcher come out.
Yeah, and that's what Carl said. The ones he really looks forward to investigating is people say, I really don't want to give my name. Those are the ones that he really likes because they're not after their 15 minutes.
Right.
What is the scariest you've ever been?
The scaredest was probably the first time, like I told you, the thing when he yelled at us from the woods. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to say it was a Bigfoot. It might have been Satan for all I know. It sounded very demonic. But, I don't really get scared because I'm half convinced that there's really nothing out there. So that I go into the woods feeling that way, so I don't get scared. I go into the woods by myself. I camp out at Salt Fork by myself in the primitive camp area. Now, last September, I was camping by myself, and I had my fire going, and it was 4 a.m., and there was this ravine right next to where my tent was. And at 4 in the morning, something huge started walking down in the ravine, and it was going, ugh, ugh, with every step it took. And it was like, ugh, ugh. And I'm like, okay, so then I try to convince myself, okay, that's just a deer blowing as he's walking. I'm just trying to convince, because it was way too dark for me to see anything.
As you're convincing yourself, I'm loading up the car and go, see ya!
So, and it continued down. I heard it just walk down. And the thing, though, that I didn't think it was a deer was because it was making such a definitive footstep. It wasn't like, the deers, how they just walked. And I didn't psych myself out. It was too dark to see anything, to get a picture or whatever. So I just sat there and listened. I ran over to my recorder and I said, I hope this is picking it up because I hear this going on right now, and it didn't pick it up. So, but that was it was like not scary. It was kind of like an adrenaline rush. I don't think I slept though after that.
Yeah, primitive campsite in a heavily populated area where there have been sightings of Bigfoot. Yeah, I don't think sleeping would really be a priority for anybody.
Yeah.
Would you squatch, Jim?
Would I?
Yeah.
I would. I haven't. I've been out in the woods a lot, and I have never thought about squatching, though, while I was out there. Yeah.
And a typical squatching adventure, I guess. I am trying to think of the right word. We go to Salt Fork. Mm-hmm. Saturday morning, we would walk areas where you would think and you would investigate, looking to see where cameras could go and where you could find something. Set them up, chill out, have a little dinner, tell little ghost stories at the campfire.
Exactly.
When the sun, do you wait until the sun goes completely down and it's complete darkness?
Yeah.
And then 11, 12 o'clock, you make a hike.
Right.
And
anywhere from like 2 to 7 miles we'll do in a night.
And no, the question is because we were talking about heavily populated with squatchers throughout.
Right.
Jim, you were saying someone could do a tree bang, and you could be talking to someone a mile away who's doing the same thing.
Right.
Another group.
Yeah.
Is there any communication between the groups, knowing where everybody is, or should there be if there's not?
There should be. There absolutely should be. Fortunately, at Salt Fork, there's a couple groups of people who just sit at, like, one group will sit at the handicap area, one group will sit at Hozak's Cave. So we know, and unfortunately, there is a lot of echo and a lot of carry, coming from the cave and across the ravines and everything. So we try to go a little farther away from that, I don't want to say where.
When is the latest seasonal time would you go?
Oh, definitely. We keep going out until October. It's kind of hard when the hunting season starts and everything. You don't want to be out there,
Oh, you could hunt at Salt Fork?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's hunting.
Okay. Well, I know there's I thought it was a state park.
No, there's designated hunting areas too.
Oh, okay.
And so that kind of squashes that. But I'm talking about like in the entire state of Ohio, like you could go out October, November. I mean, I went actually that one January where it got below zero, and I was out at below zero at midnight, and my truck got stuck in the mud, and me and my friend had to hike out, and I had frozen snot on my face and everything. It was just awful because it was below zero. I'm talking 10 below zero. But what I noticed then was, as I'm walking out of the woods for that mile, there was absolutely nothing, because you know why? All the intelligent creatures were holed up somewhere. Yeah. Bigfoot's not going to be out there waiting for me to come find him when it's 10 below zero. He's smart.
Yeah.
I should have been in the cabin with the fire going.
I mean, I asked last week, are they herbivores, omnivores, or carnivores? And Carl said they're omnivores. Well, he's assuming. I mean, there's been reports of animals that close to the woods having farm animals disappear,
right?
And stuff. And what is there to? I mean, you're 500 pounds. That's a lot of food,
right?
And I mean, are they scavengers? I mean, or are they kind of wait and try to trap some? I mean, no one really knows.
No one really knows, but they have seen, sometimes they think of these little tree stands and teepee structures that they make could be like hunting blinds. People have seen them clearing out an apple tree in a night, or the berry bushes, the blackberries, just different times of year, they go after the food that's available. And I believe they're omnivores as well. Just because people have had sightings, this woman said she saw him just taking all the apples off of her tree and popping them in her mouth.
I mean, it was one of those over the summer. Everybody, it's local, heard the story because everyone's talking. Not many people see it. Well, like you said, we know they're bears. Boo Boo made an appearance in Bedford Heights.
Yeah.
And the only reason people got pictures of it was, somebody chased it up a tree.
Yeah.
So it was up there long enough for the cameras and all that. Now, humans are stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to do it. I was fasting. I had the day off, so I was kind of going over there, and, they're spraying the poor bear with fire hoses, anything to get it down. But the thing that bothered me the most was the moron that showed up with the little bear of honey. We could use these honey. I mean, just like honey buns, anything to draw them down. Now, if they had something that was a lot bigger, that one was estimated about 200, 300 pounds. If they cornered a Bigfoot, what kind of idiots would come up with what kind of food? I mean, has there ever been, God, I hate to say it, ever been a confirmed attack on a human?
There's stories. There's a story from the 1920s, I think it was 1920, with Albert Ostman, who was allegedly snatched up in his sleeping bag and taken to a site where the Bigfoot family was, and he was surrounded by cave walls all around him. And the purpose of his abduction was to provide DNA samples to the Bigfoot's daughter to breed with the Bigfoot's daughter. And he says he stayed there for a couple days, and he finally got out by giving the Bigfoot some snuff. And the Bigfoot started choking, and Albert made his escape and ran away. So, there have been other people who were hoaxers who have said that, they're taking their video camera and getting slammed to the ground, but mostly it's hoaxers,
I mean, I saw one online, and someone sporting a black eye saying, I got punched by Bigfoot. If it was as big as it's supposed to be, he would knock your head clean off.
Right.
You wouldn't get a little shiner.
Dean Higgins in Australia, he said he was attacked by a yowie, and he had bruises all up and down his body, but no picture.
Yowie gave him an owie?
Yeah.
I mean, so the abominable snowman is also a Bigfoot Sasquatch where it is. I mean, they're assuming they're all kind of related in one way.
The Yeti.
Sasquatch is what, American Indian and kind of Canadian up there. They said that's kind of what they called it, and every seems to give it a different name. And what was the strangest nickname?
Oh, I think the Momo.
The Momo.
The Momo, the Missouri monster. That's kind of a funny one. Skunk ape in Florida.
Skunk ape? They must smell.
It looks like an ape and it smells really bad.
I mean, have you ever smelled something that...
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, their footprints limbs breaking, close enough that, you might smell something.
Right.
Now, you go camping and there are bears. Everyone tells you to put their food up.
Right.
Has there ever been reports of putting your food up and all of a sudden that whole thing's 6 feet up in the air away from a bear and it's gone?
Yeah. Ron Moorhead had Bigfoot come through his camp and was like rattling the pots and pans and everything, going through their little kitchen that they had set up. But of course, again, no pictures. So I don't know.
I mean,
people always have a story. There's a story for every question you're asking, but no one has proof.
Yeah, that's which makes it such an interesting, conversation, because like you said, everybody's got stories, but there's no proof. A friend of mine at work said the story he heard: a guy's walking out of the woods and hears all this ruckus behind him, and it's gaining on him, so he shoots out the woods, not knowing what it was. Went home, got a bunch of coon dogs, because they were raccoon hunting. Went back, and the dogs refused to get out of the truck.
Oh wow!
I mean, but again, it's like being in high school. You get a paper cut in first period. By the end of the school day, you lost your finger in by a bandsaw, in a class you don't take. Stories grow over time.
Right.
So, as a researcher, how hard is it? I mean, you hear stories, and people they're haters.
Yeah.
There's
lots of haters.
Yeah. How do you come across not sounding completely crazy?
Well, you have to look at it scientifically, and you have to look at the facts. You can't go off on your opinion, even though a lot of people do, and then that's when they start getting to be haters. You're allowed to be a skeptic, and you're allowed to ask questions, but unless you do the research and do the math, then just keep your mouth shut. But, like when you get a vocalization, you don't just say, oh, that's a bear, that's a screech owl. Maybe analyze it, analyze the frequency, do due diligence, do the research. When you get a footprint, look, are there dermal ridges? Are there fingerprint ridges? Dermal ridges like that. Take the measurements. Don't put your shoe up for a comparison, because we don't know how big your foot is. Okay. You could have size 3 feet. We don't know.
Yeah, and your website?
It is www.thebigfootfieldreporter.com.
And there's a symposium, and
yeah, I told my friend Darren. I started out with them at this October 5th and 6th. If you're in the Oklahoma area, you can attend the Oklahoma Bigfoot Symposium held at the Stillwell Community Building. Doors open on Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 10 a.m. Admission is $5 a day. Children under 12 are free.
Very cool.
Oh, you don't get one when you walk through the door. A child under 12.
Oh, okay. Okay. We got to make that clear.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of people going,
where's my 12-year-old?
Yeah. And so
okay,
we need to plan a squatching weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you be in, Jim?
If
the wife will let you.
If the wife and the job will let me, absolutely.
Okay. No weapons. Because the thing that goes thump in the night's probably me tripping over something.
Damn, I wanted to bring a howitzer.
Yeah, that would stop him dead in his tracks. Thank you guys very, very much. I mean, it's interesting. As many questions that were answered, there's still a lot more questions to ask.
Right.
We got to do this again.
We have to see if any of your listeners are interested in doing something.
Yeah, on Facebook, on my page and my show's page, if you're interested, drop me a line and we'll set something up, and
we'll go squatching.
We'll figure something out and set a date and have some fun. This is the Russell Reed Show. Until next week, everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.